Giants!
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Fuel and Fire podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josh, here with the Win Column, and we've got a few reoccurring guests here with us as well. Alex, Amon, and Tyler. So chatting all things Flames, unfortunately, and then some Oilers talk, I guess, on the side. But I think everything that's front of mind for us right now would probably be the Flames and their current state. An interesting past week, a lot of different things popping up in the news, coach using ChatGPT, Zane Parekh getting scratched. So, I'm sure you guys have a lot to talk on that, so I won't take up too much of the airwaves. I'll let Alex and mine, if you want to kick it off here, and just your thoughts on how the season and how especially the past week has gone for the Flames, because it's been an interesting ride.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a difficult week. Jays lose last night, which absolutely sucked. I honestly did not watch any of that Flames game yesterday because I booked my ass downtown to get a nice spot at a bar to watch the Jays. But yeah, I mean, I caught like a part of the first period yesterday, and I saw like the first two goals happen. And I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna waste my data on this watching a Zane Parekh-less, Connor Zary-less Calgary Flames team. I was at the game on Tuesday against Toronto, and I don't know. It was kind of funny to watch. Coronado was on the fourth line. Parekh played, and he started on the top power play unit, and they got a power play late in the game, and Huska took him off. And I tried to start a Fire Huska chant up in the 300s, but no one joined me. So, no, just honestly, just absolutely trash. I mean, we all want them to be bad. I think all of us here are Team Tank. But there comes a point where, yeah, you want them to lose, but I want them to lose with some dignity, and I don't want their coaches to be making dumb decisions. You guys, I imagine you guys feel the same way. But like scratching Zary and Zane the last couple games has been absolutely like some of the dumbest coaching and management decisions I've seen with this team, and that's saying a lot because we've seen a lot of really bad coaching and management decisions over the years. So I mean, we'll get into it, but Zane's playing today, which is great. Zary's back in, which is great. So because I don't know, there was a little bit of a period the last 24 hours where it was like, oh, he might go back to the O, which would have been ridiculous if they did that. So yeah, bad. But what are your guys' thoughts on this week so far?
I mean, at least for me, yeah, like I think that this type of messaging has kind of stopped being conveyed by reporters or some fans or whatever. But when they were first on that first losing streak, what was that, like 8 games or so? There was a lot of talk being like, oh, they're really playing below expectations. But I think those expectations were only theirs. Like, if I remember correctly, I think all of us thought they were going to be bottom 10 in the league. My wishful thinking was bottom 5 this year. And I know, yes, I'm a Flames fan, but this is short-term pain for long-term gain, which is why I am hoping that they rebuild this year. But yeah, I think, like, to me, it's just been exactly what I've expected in a way. The only thing that I think has really disappointed me or surprised me, I guess, it is, yeah, like some lineup decisions that they make, or just their heavy reliance on Dustin Wolf. But I think the main reason for this is they just haven't committed yet. Like they haven't seen the writing on the wall that, like, playoffs are not going to happen. It's just not. And what I'm really curious to see, though, is does the coaching decisions or does the lineup decisions or even the tactics, does any of that change when the season changes from chasing a playoff spot to developing our young talent? Like, will that change? Because if I'm on the develop train already, so based off some of the decisions I've seen Huska make, yeah, I'm with you, Alex, that they're very puzzling. Scratching your best goal scorer when you're really, yeah, they've scored a decent amount of goals in the past 3 games, but we saw how they were last year. Like, offense is going to be hard to come by. They'll go through some stretches where they have some good runs scoring goals, but it's going to be hard. So I never understood scratching Coronado. I never understood the narrative that Parekh is struggling in the NHL. I don't think he is. I think he struggles just as much as any other rookie would. So I'm curious to see, will that type of logic or messaging or mindset change once they fully decide, okay, let's just develop the young guys, let's sell off some assets and see where our future goes.
Yeah. And I think they just need to acknowledge that
playoffs aren't going to happen this year. And what do you do when you acknowledge that? Well, you look at your long-term development strategy, right? How do you get some of the younger kids some more ice time? How do you get them in positions to succeed? And I think playing a guy like Pride, like he shouldn't be getting scratched. Simply put, right? Or at least with the current state of the Flames, he shouldn't be getting scratched. And I understand that there's the mentality that, oh well, like they need to learn how to like adjust to life off the ice. So sitting in the press box, well, that. But I I don't see that logic when they're the future of your franchise and you really have nothing else to look forward to. Like no one's buying a ticket to go and see Blake Coleman play hockey, right? If they're buying a Flames ticket, they're probably going to go and see uh, their two big guys who were in the lineup the last couple of games, right?
Yeah.
Just one question for all of you, because I'm curious. I was thinking about it since Eric Francis put out that report yesterday when he said that the Flames are just internally discussing what the plan should be for Parekh. And he said it multiple times that he thought Zane's struggling in the NHL. I have an answer, but I'm curious what you guys think. Is there anything you guys can think of that maybe Parekh has struggled with, and that's what he might be referring to?
Maybe the defensive side a little bit, but I haven't even thought he's been that bad defensively. I mean, I got to when on the game on Tuesday, they didn't really give him that many tough zone starts, but I mean, every time he was out there, he handled himself well. And all the games I've watched, I haven't really seen too many struggles. It's like, yeah, there's an adjustment for the speed for sure. And, strength wise, yeah, these guys are a lot stronger than, junior guys. But I don't know. I don't really think anybody was expecting him to come in and be a top two right away, especially considering the Flame system is terrible. And I don't even know what their system is. It seems like everything's just, Wolfie makes all the saves. But I don't know. Maybe they want more from him offensively, but on a team that's so inept and can't score, they haven't really given him a huge run at PP1. I think they gave him a game and a half, maybe. I don't know. I don't really know what they expect. I almost wish they would just do what like the Islanders are doing with Schaefer. Just let the kid go. Like, Schaefer's playing 25 minutes a night, and
He's so good.
and he played 17 and he played 17 hockey games last year. Seems fine to me. Bodum looks fine in Minnesota to me. Sandy Pellica looks all right in Detroit. At some point, like they just got to take the training wheels off of him. Let him go. And if he makes mistakes, well,
What better season? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
and if
matter.
he makes mistakes, he's going to learn from it. Like, what's he learning in the press box? Nothing. Here's Jake Bean doing God knows what. Learn from that. I don't know.
Yeah.
For a team that said they were going to be a playoff team, and they're rolling out Jake Bean and Braden Pahal, and
exactly.
And I like Pahal.
At least,
yeah, I don't know.
Me too. Yeah. That's the thing. That's the most frustrating. Probably is like sometimes there's like an argument between like should a team prioritize trying to win versus player development, but that's not the case with Parekh here. Like playing him not only helps his development, also just makes the Flames a better team. Like if Huska's goal is to make the playoffs, which is an insane goal, but if that's his goal and he's trying to win games, like scratching Parekh for Jake Bean is not achieving that. So that's what's the most frustrating. It's not like we're sitting here and saying they should be playing this kid who's like been terrible, but it's good for his development to get ice times. Like he's been legitimately solid when he's played. Like he's got better each game. He had him on the top power play unit for like a couple games there. His numbers are among the top of all Flames defensemen so far this season in terms of like shot, chance generation. Like, so maybe the eye test is a little rough sometimes, because he can get pushed around a little bit and, maybe a couple turnovers in his own zone, but then you go back and you look at his numbers and you're like, oh, he actually, the Flames outshot them and outchanced them when he was on the ice. So that's what's most frustrating to me is that, the organization will probably tout this as he's not ready. We're trying to win. We need to have the veterans in the lineup. But the reality is that Zane Parekh in the lineup is helping you win games more than Jake Bean in the lineup is. Like, that's just a fact, and the numbers back it up. So, if Huska and the organization are kind of, same with like Coronado or Zaria, those guys, like scratching them, saying that, well, they've struggled, we're trying to win, they've struggled, let them sit. Like, this team is last in the league in goals, and you're going to tell me that playing Justin Kirkland and scratching Matthew Coronado is helping you win games? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. To me, it seems like a head coach that's kind of just way over his head. Yeah. He's He's
100%.
struggling. Like his team last year, he was carried by Wolf, which disguised a lot of the Flames' issues. They come into this year, they're last in the league, like franchise worst start. And it just seems like a coach who just kind of doesn't know what to do at this point. He's kind of lost. He's kind of scrambling. So his default is, well, let's scratch the young guys. Let's put the young guys in the press box. Say, well, Perek struggled, or Zary hasn't looked good, or Coronado, and let's go with that idea and narrative that, well, we need to get the veterans in the lineup. Because to me, I think if you know what you're doing, you look at the numbers, you look at the type of players you're scratching, and you realize that I think we have a better chance to win with the guy who scored 24 goals last year than, Adam Klapka. Like it just doesn't add up. There's no positives to scratching these guys. You're not helping their development, and you're also not helping the Flames win games. You're kind of just achieving nothing, pissing everyone off, and I guess it helps them lose games for the tank, which is nice, but the thing is, of course, it's the Flames. They can't do anything right. Like they can't even tank right. They're just making that as painful as possible, even though it's something that most of us have wished for years, is for them to lose and sink to the bottom. They're still making that painful by just throwing these like boring lineups out, scratching the young guys everyone wants to see, and just making it a painstaking season. Like I really hope at some point here the switch clicks and they realize like, okay, the season is lost. Let's just play the young guys, ride it out, and see what they can do and get ready for the future. But I think, as we all know, this is a very stubborn organization. So I think it's going to take them a long time before they realize that. So to me, I feel like we could be, December, January, the Flames still bottom 5 in the league, and they're still, scratching young guys, trying to win games with veterans, stuff like that. I think it'll come eventually, because I just don't think this team's ever going to be good enough to get out of this hole. But unfortunately, I think it's going to take a long time before they can finally look in the mirror and admit that they're not good, just because it's not part of their nature. That's how it's always been. They've always just, until the very last moment, until they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, they're going to tell you that they're a playoff team. So yeah, it's just been a frustrating start for sure.
I think you guys have made two very good points here with the depth. Honestly, who's above these guys in terms of their depth chart, right? Like, would you put Jake Bean above Pride? Would you put Justin Kirkland above Coronado? Probably not, right? And then one other thing that I'm thinking about too is we saw this years ago with Glenn Gulletson and his, I guess, caving into the veteran needs of the lineup and letting the vets determine who's in and who's out. Are we seeing a repeat of that with Huska, I wonder? Because like that would be the only possible explanation I could think of as to why
this feels very Jeff Wardy. And I didn't think we'd get in a territory where we're getting to Jeff Ward putting Johnny Gaudreau with Milan Lucic. I don't know. It's one thing if like this team sucked, but they were fun. Like, oh, they're scoring a bunch of goals, but like they're just not a good team. But like they suck and they're boring as shit to watch. That's the other thing that it's like really getting on my nerves. It's like the games are a slog and they stink. Like, imagine if the Sharks last year were like, yeah, you know what? Macklin and Will Smith, you guys can sit out a few games. I don't think that would have gone over very well. And I get Celebrini is on a different level than any of the guys we have. However, but imagine they were like, actually, you're going to sit. Or, I'm trying to think if Montreal this year said, Demidov, take a seat for a few. It's, I don't know. If they were fun, it's different, but they're not fun. I don't know. They're so worried about ticket sales, and their ticket sales are gonna bomb if you're. I don't know. For the guys who are out there in Calgary, are you guys gonna go spend your hard-earned money on a game that has Justin Kirkland, Ryan Lomberg, Yegor Sharangovich, Jake Bean, Braden Pahal in the lineup, as opposed to Zary, Coronado, Peck. Even some of these guys they have with the Wranglers, like Karens, and we'll see if anybody else gets a call up at some point, Brustevich.
Well, see, Alex, this is the thing. You brought up such a good point that always makes me laugh, because I think Friedman came out this season being like, oh, the Flames should tank and they should trade people out and just play their young guys. But I think management is scared about ticket sales. They've been bottom 5, bottom 10 since COVID.
Even when they were really good that one year.
Yeah, even if we're talking percentage of capacity filled, they're at the bottom of the league. So it can't it's not working. You're already low in ticket sales, so what are you afraid of? You're already living your nightmare.
They didn't even sell out their home opener.
Yeah. And
the
I
one game
remember,
a year.
I remember the
like,
seasons. Yeah,
Like
I
I'm
remember the
telling
seasons.
you,
Every single year will be sold out.
yeah.
like I'm telling you, if they go into this new building in 2 years and Naz is still here and they sign Anderson and for whatever reason Blake Coleman's back, and I have nothing against Blake Coleman, I love Coleman. But like if they go into this new building and nothing has changed, they're still running out this olderish team, like nobody's gonna go. Ticket prices are gonna skyrocket due to the new building. Like you're telling me you can't just like sell off pieces for 2 years and then by the time the new rink comes around, like let's live in a fantasy world where they get the first pick this year and you get McKenna. And then let's say next year you get another top 3, top 5 pick and maybe you get Landon DuPont. You're telling me there isn't a ridiculous amount of excitement going into that new building with this new look Flames. You got all these young guys, budding stars ready to go, not even mentioning the guys they already have like a Cole Reshny, a Matvey Gridden, Brustevich, all these guys that they've drafted over the past couple of years. Their short-term plans shouldn't matter. And I think that's what I think everybody's been so upset about is that with Tree Living, everything was year to year to year. The difference with Tree Living is, hey, we had Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk and Monahan and all these guys. They're still looking like they're doing this year to year thing, but they don't have good players. So it's like, I don't know. You can't, like, I just don't understand why they can't just bite the bullet for a couple of years, get excitement levels back up, and you hopefully get someone really exciting, and it changes your franchise forever. I don't know. I had a lot of fun watching Johnny Gaudreau as a kid, I think Chuck as a kid, and watching them grow up into superstars. I mean, I loved watching that. Fans will come and watch that. They will.
Yeah.
And for them to be like, no, I don't think so. They will. You're telling me if the Flames get McKenna this year, they will not sell out their first game with him in the lineup. Given Husko will probably scratch him, or maybe McKenna will be smart and be like, actually, I'm going to go back and make another $700,000 at Penn State. Maybe, who knows? But
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you mentioned the Treliving era, which, yeah, I mean they played it year by year, which isn't a good strategy. But like you said, at least they had guys you could look at and say, like, as long as we have a Gaudreau, a Tkachuk, Monahan in his prime, like they had Gio, like you could look at that team and say, yeah, even though maybe we shouldn't be taking this year by year, I could see a path where this team could go off and be a threat, which they did in like 18-19 and 21-22, like because they had the talent. Whereas like they're doing that same strategy, but they're coming into the season with like a 35-year-old Kadri, the ghost of Huberdeau, and like they had Adam Klapka on their first line for the home opener. They're with that roster, they're coming into the season saying, well, you never know, we could go on a run here. It's like, no, like you're not going on a run with this roster. You don't have the Gaudreaus, the Kachucks, the Monahans. Like you don't have those type of players to go on a runs. Even though a year by year strategy under Treliving wasn't the best idea, at least there was some merit behind it. Versus like with this roster, it's just been a complete mess from the day Gaudreau and Tkachuk left. Like that's just how it is. They kind of just Treliving obviously tried to throw something together, and it for a time looked like it might have worked, and then it didn't. And then they just kind of have been for the past 3 years just hoping that things work out. Like they haven't added anything. Like this past offseason, they finished almost last in the league in goals. They didn't add a thing in the offseason to help that. And they come into this year just hoping that they're going to be better. Like it's just an insane strategy to have. And then of course they're somehow even worse this year, last in the league in goals. They haven't even hit 30 goals yet in 13 games, which they're the only team who hasn't done that. Like it just seems like, as always, there's absolutely no plan. But the difference of this era versus like Treliving era is that they also don't have any talent at all, because at the very least at the beginning of the Treliving era, they did bottom out for a bit. They got Bennett, it didn't work out, but they got him 4th overall. They got Monahan 6th overall. They got Tkachuk 6th overall. So obviously they hit the jackpot with Gaudreau, but they had actual players that you could say, okay, we could probably build around these guys. Like other than Parekh and obviously Wolf, but I think goalies are different. There's not really anyone on this roster I'm saying like, oh, this is a superstar we can build around. But they're kind of just, I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know what their plan is. Like I think any other organization or anyone with a brain would look at this team, their results from the past 3 years. You come into the season, you're 2-9-2. I think any smart organization or anyone like with more than 5 IQ would say like, yeah, this is just not going to work out. Let's even just take one season and just bottom out and get a top pick and like reassess next year. Even if you only want to tank for 1 year, like which I think they should do more than that. But even if they want to
Hell of a year
say,
to do it.
yeah, exactly. Like you start 2-9-2, your playoff odds at this point are gone. You're not making the playoffs. I ran the numbers before this, and they'd have to go play like 550 hockey the rest of the way just to finish out of the bottom 10. Like last year's bottom 10 team, to reach that point total, they'd have to play 550 hockey the rest of the way. And right now they're playing like 230 hockey. So it's like, even if they turn this around and start playing well, they're still unlikely to finish outside the bottom 10. So any smart organization would say, like, even if it hurts to admit, like, this is not a good team, let's pack it in, let's play the young guys, trade the veterans. This is a ridiculously stacked draft. Like, it's insane how perfect this year is to tank, but yet they're still stubborn. You know, we heard the Friedman quote that was it yesterday, the day before, about how the organization thinks this is just a blip and, you know, they're going to bounce back and they're going to convince Kadri to stay. And it's just like everything that this organization does is just so backwards. You haven't made the playoffs in 4 years. You're last in the league by a mile. You can't score goals for your life. And you're trying to convince a 35-year-old why he should stay. You should be like running to the phones and calling everyone you can and says, do you want Nazem Kadri? He had 35 goals last year. This is a contract that, this is a contract that not long ago looked like one of the worst in the league and potentially untradeable for Kadri. And how good he's been the last year or so has now made it where you could probably get, you know, a first and a prospect back for him. You could clear that money off the cap, build for the future. Like anyone would think, oh, that's it. Like 10 out of 10 times I make that decision, except for the Flames.
You're telling me Carolina wouldn't kill to have him right now?
Yeah.
Or Montreal?
Like Friedman said,
Vancouver.
and Friedman's like the guy, he knows. He said, like, there's teams lining up saying, how do we get on Kadri's approved trade list? We want this guy. And the Flames are, as far as we know so far, turning them away right now. It's like, no, we're keeping them. You're not getting them. It's just, it just doesn't make any sense. It's so backwards. Like, they're just having everything handed to them with this bottoming out in this type of draft, with Kadri playing as well as he is at 35. Like, his no move clause disappeared this year. It's like, you're literally just putting a plate in front of Connor and saying, make a good decision. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold on to this guy and probably trade him in like 2 years when he's like 37 and worth nothing. Like they did with, you know, I mean, Ginla, Bouwmeester, those guys were just very similar. They just held on to them for way too long when it was clear the team was going nowhere. And then we ended up with Ben Hanowski for the best player in franchise history. So it's like, Kadri obviously isn't that level, but it's not a dissimilar situation where you're just holding on hope for no reason. And then by the time you trade Coleman and Kadri, and I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Anderson at this point? Like, you're probably getting pennies of what you could have got right now, and you're 2-3 years behind where you could have been. Like, look at the Canadians and where they are right now. Look where the Flames are. Those two teams last made the playoffs, you know, and started the rebuilds only 1 year apart. The Flames did whatever they decided to do. The Habs decided to rebuild, and now the Habs are a juggernaut, and the Flames are still terrible. So it's just, they're just delaying the inevitable. And I think, I hope at some point they realize that, but I have zero confidence that they will. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kadri is not traded this year or anytime soon.
I will say, I know obviously we don't have a lot of excitement for the Flames, as we previously mentioned. I think the Wranglers are debatably the more exciting team in town right now, because you have the like young, unproven guys, like you have the Basha, the Sunyevs, the Bruce Ruiz, all of those guys, Karens, like they play debatably tight hockey. So I don't know how many times you say that an AHL team is more exciting to watch than their NHL team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the case even last year too. But this is the one thing I will say. I think, Josh, maybe this is the optimist in me. I think at some point they will trade him. They have to, because like this start has been completely different than any other year we've seen. And the other thing is, like, and Tyler, this goes back to kind of what you were saying. Like, Conroy's drafting has been phenomenal. Like, if they decide to tear it, or not even tear it down, if they just decide to to bottom out this year and trade their veterans, this will be a quick rebuild.
Yeah.
Like, you've got some good pieces in the NCAA, the AHL. Like, they've drafted so well. They have the pieces. They just need the one or two elite guys, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Wranglers are just so fun to watch.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. It's like they don't need to completely tear this down to the studs. They got guys that 2-3 years are going to be ready to go. Like, we can be talking about, you know, assuming they move guys, like Reshny could be good to go next year. We're probably a few years out on Potter. Gridden very well could be a full-timer next year. They have guys that are going to be there and guys that are going to be productive. Yeah, they just don't have the superstar. You get one. And there's a damn good one available in McKenna this year. Damn good one. You get one of those guys. Yeah, you probably need another, but you get one of those guys and you're in fairly good shape. This isn't like a Chicago thing where they tore it down, they got Bedard, and then there's nobody around him. They've got guys that are going to be ready to go within the next 2 years, And when it comes to Naz, I don't think it's no coincidence that they have this horrendous start and then it comes out that actually his trade list is now just 13. I don't think that's again, this team has given me no reason to be optimistic. However, that's not a coincidence that came out 2 weeks ago. There is something there. And I think once Naz plays he's scheduled for his 1,000th game on Wednesday, is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think after that, you might start to see the floodgates hopefully open. Because like I said, Carolina would kill to have Naz. I think Montreal, with the start they've had, would kill to have a Naz. Hell, I know the Leafs have zero assets to trade, but they're probably in need of somebody. I wouldn't want them to trade him to Toronto because that would have they'd get nothing for him. But
they're on my no trade list.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teams that like Colorado, when they love to have Naz back. Again, I know they don't really have much of anything either, but there's a bunch of teams that could use a 2C. And Naz is still he's 35 and he's got 3 years left after this one at $7 million, but
he's still got it.
He's shown zero signs of slowing down. His first year in Calgary gets thrown under the rug as it was horrendous because the whole team was bad. He had 56 points that year. The year after, he has 75. Last year, he scores 35 goals, leads the team in points with 67. There's still a lot of hockey, I think, in Naz. Yeah. There's a lot of hockey there with Naz. You're not moving Huberdeau. Let's not even start talking about that. But, if they were quicker on the trigger with Anderson, who knows where they would have got for him. I think some team would overpay for Coleman. I think there's some team that would give you a first for him. I
would say.
He's
a dog. I love Coleman. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, he's a good player. And he's played well to start this year. And I know there hasn't been a ton of positives with the team, but we've seen some positive strides out of Sam Honzik, who thought he'd be playing as well as he has. I know he only has 2 points, but he's played well. But they don't have to go full scorched earth because they went full scorched earth a couple years ago and they moved almost everybody. And then they almost made the playoffs. They're not close, but they're not as far as I think management wants to think they are if they tear it down.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good pieces in the system. Absolutely. And that's why maybe they don't even need to decide to tank,
They didn't decide to tank this year, and it's just happening. So
I don't know. I think, it is frustrating in a moment-to-moment thing, but I think if you're looking at the big picture of the Flames, this is great. You got to be stoked. Greedon looks amazing. Honzik is making strides. A lot of the young players are slowly moving up the ranks, and there's a big contingent of them. Yes, you still need the one or two kind of headlining pieces, and chances are there's going to be one high in the draft this year, whether it's McKenna or not.
Stenberg, Bearhoff.
There's kind of that's a theme of the league right now. For a long time, especially around the COVID era, it was hard for any young teams to kind of make a step forward. We saw a lot of stagnant rebuilds just kind of flatlining, and now here we are kind of early into the year, and Anaheim's looking really strong. To some extent, Chicago and San Jose are looking a lot better. Utah and Montreal, obviously, you're starting to see that next generation who's been drafting high the last 10 years finally take that step again, and I think the Flames are kind of going to be able to hit that in stride. It's not like they were a contending team and they traded years worth of firsts and there's nothing in the system. It's there's a good foundation. There's a good foundation of prospects that could hit.
They kind of half cooked a rebuild, essentially, is what they did. because they were forced into it. Like they wanted to
Yeah.
keep Lindholm and Hanifin and Tanev, and
Right.
those guys didn't want to stay. So they made the right decision. They traded them all, like brought in a ton of assets. And then instead of continuing that rebuild, they kind of just didn't because of Dustin Wolf last year. And again, I think last year's just really, really screwed them over because 23-24, you finished bottom 10. Eric Francis put an article out how the Flames are rebuilding after they traded Markstrom. Like it looked like it was finally happening. And then you go into last year, everyone expects him to be terrible. Wolf does what he does, saves like 20 goals above expected. He just covers up all of their issues. They almost make the playoffs. And then that completely just flips the switch for ownership, management, whatever, to make them think that they're a playoff team again. And now here we are, they're 2-9-2, which isn't that surprising because again, they're not a good team. Wolf covered it up and kind of just delayed the inevitable. So again, I hope they start to realize that because I think they started on the right path. They traded those guys. Like they got an absolute haul for Elias Lindholm, who sucks. No offense, but
And that
not a
trade
fan.
looks
But
amazing.
I mean, the Hanifin trade was terrible, but you got a first round pick at least. Like you got second round pick or whatever for Tanev. Like you started to collect these assets, and then instead of going over the finish line and trading Coleman, Kadri, like Backlund, Anderson, now they've just kind of stagnated because of last season. And instead of trading those guys and completing the rebuild, they've just half cooked it, which is why they are where they are right now, and just kind of this mess of a roster that's like half rebuilt, half holding on to the previous era. So
I think you make a really good point there too with Wolf. Like when it comes to roster construction, one of the things that teams really struggle is to find that goaltender, right? The Flames already have that. Another key element that a lot of rebuilding teams struggle to find is like a very stable defensive or like a very stable defenseman, right? Flames already have that. The foundation's there. They just need to actually, pour the concrete and make it more stable than it currently is.
Just need that superstar forward.
Yep. Ever since Gaudreau and Kachuk left, like that's what they've needed is those high-end forwards. They hoped it was Huberdeau. That hasn't been the case. Like Kadri's been good, but he's not that type of player. He's not a superstar. He's a good complementary piece. And it's, like you said, they've got a franchise goalie. He hasn't been great this year, but I don't think anyone blames him for that. Zane Prek, same thing. Like he's looked really good no matter what the media will tell you. Like, so they've got those pieces. It's just the forwards, which is the issue, which we've known for a while. They finished 29th in the league in goals last year. They're dead last in the league in goals this year. Like they just don't have the finishing. They don't have the talent up front. And like, I love Rezhny and Potter and like Suniev and all these guys, but even those guys aren't superstars. Those guys are guys who you could look really good beside a McKenna or beside a Stenberg or a Lawrence in this draft. Like, so just getting one of those guys, I think would go such a long way in making this team from an absolute mess to looking and saying, wow, we actually have a decent future, especially, they've got Vegas's first two, which is probably going to be like 32 or whatever. But even that, it's still a first round pick in a high draft. Like there's a good foundation there. It's just missing one piece. And it's, again, like I said, it's being handed on a platter to them right now. Like this is one of the deepest drafts we've seen in years. Anyone in the top 5, 6, 7 in the draft has like franchise or top line potential. You're 2-9-2, like your playoff hopes are out the window. Like just sell, trade Kadri high, bottom out, get a top 5 pick this year, and you're actually in a pretty decent spot going into Scotia Place in like 2 years. So like it just seems so obvious that I hope they recognize that. I think they're still kind of on the fence because that's just what they do, and they're still hoping this thing can be turned around. But I think, especially like we said with Kadri's 1000th game, like say they lose today and they lose his 1000th game, I think they're going to say, okay, maybe now it's time. We're at a point here where like their playoff odds are like 3% or something. They would have to play like 700 hockey the rest of the way to get to like 96 points or whatever.
Yeah, so, just to hit like 94, 95. Which is
happening. Like wild card 2 where you're getting smoked in the first round anyways. So it's, I just think again, it's struggle. It's a big struggle to watch a team like just kind of be so stubborn like this and have a coach like Huska who's just, I think, has no idea what he's doing. Like I think it was from day one, it was a mistake hiring him. I think it was even a bigger mistake to give him a 2-year extension before we even really saw him achieve anything other than get carried by Wolf last year. And that's coming back to haunt us. And unfortunately, I don't think Huss is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Like this is an organization that is very cheap when it comes to coaches. They're not going to want to fire a guy they just extended for 2 years. He's a cheap coach. Like he's Conroy's guy. He has faith in him. So I think he probably is going to last this year, and they're going to say, well, it's not Huska's fault. It's this and it's that and whatever. Maybe next year he gets fired if they start slow again. But I think if they hope to actually turn this around at some point, they need to get a new coach. Like, I think it's been pretty clear from day one. Huska's not a guy you hire to bring your team anywhere. I mean, he's been a pro coach for 7 combined season now, and he's made the playoff once in the AHL. He did, and he lost in the first round. So, he's missed the playoffs every other year. His decision making is just mind boggling. Like, it just makes no sense at all. Like, going back to Parekh, what we were talking about, which was really funny to me, is that he plays him on PP1 as the power play quarterback, which is like one of the most important roles on the team, for like 3 games, and then the next couple games, he scratches him because he doesn't even trust him to play in the game at all. So it's like, what is the thought process behind saying, yeah, I trust this guy to lead our power play in like virtual must-win games to save our season, but also this next game, I don't even trust him to step on the ice. It's like, where's the thought process there? Same with like Coronado, Zary, the game against the Leafs, like the last 90 seconds, they're down by 1. Those guys are out on the ice in the most important moments of the game.
Yeah.
And the next game, they're a healthy scratch because he doesn't trust them to play. It's like, what exactly is the coach trying to convey here by saying, oh, I trust you to be out there in the most important minutes of the game or be on our top power play, but also next game against Nashville or Philly, I don't trust you to play. It's like, I just think, like I said, I think Huska's just over his head as an NHL head coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's scrambling. He's going to ChatGPT to ask for advice. Like, it's just a comedy of errors. And I think it's pretty clear this guy's not an NHL head coach. I think the organization will take a little bit longer to realize that because they've already invested, so much time and effort into him that they're going to give him a little bit more leeway. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest issue for me this season, that they're making tanking, which should be fun because it's something we've hoped for a while, not fun because they're also making that painful by making us watch Ryan Huska coach hockey, and it's just awful.
Hey, but
I
the
don't
culture,
know, man.
consider the culture, guys. The
Their
culture was
culture for
amazing
60
last year,
years.
guys. The culture was amazing last year. They didn't make the playoffs, but everyone was happy. Like, consider the culture. I wonder how the culture is right now.
Yeah, no one's talking about the great locker room culture anymore, that they're 2-9-2 and their captain Backlund's getting absolutely walked by Demidov in overtime. Like,
well, no, it's like, man, I'm at that game on Tuesday night, and like they scratched Zary and Parekh in Ottawa because they said they made mistakes, but like I don't think they were on the ice for any of the goals against. Like that one by Nyes right at the end of the second, like Backlund gets stripped, and then ball is nowhere to be found, and Nyes walks in untouched. The one where like Wolf has to make an unreal save, and then Anderson shoots the puck off Nyes and it goes in. And then hurts me to say this, but my boy Weegsy with a big turnover late in that game, and Domi buries it. Like, it wasn't on the young guys. And then, like Josh, you said, Zane they take him off of PP1 like in the third period of that game, and then with a minute to go, he's out there trying to tie the game up. Like I'm like, what is happening? My friend who I went to the game with, I guess, a Leaf fan, and he looks at me. He's like, what is he doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, he's looking at the lineup before the game, and he's like, why is Justin Kirkland playing with Coronado? And I'm like, that's a great question. I'm like, it's but
yeah,
Amon, I know
Coronado especially. Coronado especially.
Dude, has the best shot on the team.
Yeah.
Like, not even close. Fourth line.
Parekh, you can make
Scratch.
an argument. I don't agree with it, but you can make an argument. He's a rookie, he's a defenseman. Give him some time in the press box, rest him. Like, okay, like I don't agree with it, but I can see the merit. Scratching Coronado is literally a fireable offense. Like, this is a guy who you literally just signed to a 7x6 deal in the offseason. So you're committing to him as a core part of your team, your third highest paid forward, one of your best players. But the coach is out here treating him like he's an 18-year-old rookie in his first year and scratching him and then playing on the fourth line. It's such bad optics, in my opinion, for your team to sign a guy like that. First round pick you made a couple of years ago. He has 24 goals last year. Sign him to that big contract. Say, like, you're part of our future. You're one of our best players. And then game 9, your team is like last in the league in goals, and you health bomb them, and then you literally put them on the fourth line. And I think, honestly, maybe this is a conspiracy theory, but I'm pretty sure they were going to health bomb them again when that lineup card came out. The backlash was insane, even from Flames media, who can be, a bit of some shills who just kind of do whatever the organization wants. Even they were coming out and saying, like, I have no
This-
idea why Huska's scratching Coronado, and then lo and behold, the lineup card changes on
in the
game day, and
lineup.
he's back in the lineup. So I fully
Bullying
believe he was
works.
going to be out, and then Huska got bullied into making a smart decision. So you're welcome, Huska. But yeah, the Coronado handling, I think, is the worst thing Huska's done. It's just ridiculous behavior for a team that's last in the league in goals to scratch your best pure goal scorer for no reason. You know, they say he was struggling, whatever. When he was scratched the first time, he had 2 goals in 9 games, which was literally second on the team in goals. Like, so you can't sit here and tell me Coronado's been worse than Kirkland or Klapka or like 99% of the forward group. Like, I think the only guy who has been good this year really is like, I'd say Kadri. Coleman's been pretty good. Like, I mean, Sharon Govich is in the lineup. He does absolutely nothing every night, no matter what some people will tell you on Twitter. But
Frost is doing all right, right? Frost?
Yeah,
I mean,
Frost
like-
has been
doing
okay,
stuff.
I guess. But yeah,
Matt Coronado,
This
who
is the
you
thing, like,
paid
they're not
more total dollars than Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah. But this is the thing. They're not wrong when they say, oh yeah, Coronado struggled. The thing that they fail to address is everyone has struggled. You know, like absolutely Coronado has struggled. He was better last year. Everyone will say that. But like the whole team has struggled. So like in a situation like that, if you're trying to get out of the hole, and they kind of have, like you've seen some decent improvements, at least in goal scoring. I don't know how long that will last, but if you're trying to get out of that hole, you don't scratch your best goal scorer. You don't, unless, you know, maybe he pulled a Barzal, was late. I don't know. Maybe if it was a disciplinary thing, fine. But he
I
got
would've
scratched
said
for
it.
playing hockey. Are we really at that stage right now? I don't get that part at all.
yeah.
But Ryan
That's how-
Lomberg has to be in the lineup every night, though.
Yeah, Lomberg has not been scratched a single game under Huska, and he's had like 10 points in like 80 games, his last 80 games or something. Like, and that's the thing with Coronado. Like, we had people on Twitter talking about like behind the scenes issues and all this, because like no one could make sense of him getting scratched. It just made so little sense to everyone, even Flames media, who are usually like supporting whatever they do. Like, there's like, is there like attitude issues? Did he show up late to a team meeting? Like, because it's like no one could understand why he was scratched. It was just such an insane decision. And then to put him back on the fourth line playing with 2 AHLers for 8 minutes or whatever, and then be like, well, he didn't play very well, so we're going to scratch him again. It's just like, it's just such terrible coaching. Like, I just don't understand it on any level. I think, like I said, the correct decision you could kind of see because he's a rookie, whatever. But like Coronado is a guy who's like entering his mid-20s. You just sign him for 7 more years, and you're going to give him 8 games runway in the next season and then scratch him because he is second on your team in goals. It's just a absurd way to run your organization. And I do worry like how Huska is going to handle the incoming wave of young players we have, because we do have, like we said, there's a lot of good young players coming up in the system. Like, how are they going to handle themselves, and how are they going to be managed under Huska? I just have zero confidence that he'll do the right thing.
Yeah, I'm not exactly. I'm not entirely excited for that, because I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, because what if we get into a scenario next year where let's just say they get McKenna and they draft him, and for whatever reason Reshny's ready to go and Gritton's ready to go, and let's say Andrew Basha makes unbelievable strides this year and he's ready to go. I'm probably not going to happen. Like, how's he going to handle all that? He literally came out last season towards the tail end when they were in that playoff race, and they asked him about Zane, and he said, I don't have time to manage that. Literally your job to manage that. What are you going to do when you have all these kids like ready to go? Like, what if they get McKenna? What if this like dream world we live in? I mean, it's not as of right now. If like the lottery was today, they have the best odds, but like, because they're not going to get the pick. Let's be honest. But the Calgary Flames, it's not going to happen. But like, what if we get into a scenario where, hey, they draft Gavin McKenna? Like, what's Husky going to do with him? Okay, he's probably not going to be great defensively. That's fine, because he's going to create so much offensively. But the minute he makes one mistake, press box. Like, that's what I'm worried about, because Coronado doesn't have he's not a superstar, but he doesn't have a ton of flaws. Like, he's sturdy defensively. You know, he scores goals. He's a great skater. He's got good skills, and they scratched him for what? For what reason? We don't even know. He can't be the coach long term. He just can't be. And I've said it from day one. Like, when they handed out this extension, a month ago, I'm like, that's a mistake. I got flamed for it. No pun intended. But It's, I don't know. Like it was a mistake then. It's still a mistake now. And yeah, and there's obviously flaws in management because they're letting this happen. I don't think Huska and Conroy are like, they're definitely talking every day. And Huska's probably telling him, hey, I'm scratching Coro tonight. Hey, I'm scratching Zane. Hey, I'm scratching Zary. There's communication. And for whatever reason, Conroy's probably on board with it, even though he was the one that wanted this youth movement pushed. It's frustrating. It feels like a lifetime ago when we were watching that 21-22 team. Just like we had a line of killers that went out in every shift. It was like they could score 2, right? They had great depth defensively. They were so good. Like, what happened? I know our two best players left. I understand that. But like I don't understand how you went from that, saw that, and went, this is the direction we're gonna go in. I understand the boys didn't like Daryl, and you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game for a living, and again, if you don't like your boss, it could affect you. But I don't know. I don't know how you went from Daryl to Ryan, to Huska. I just don't get it. And I know everyone. I know I'm one of the last few stutter guys. I love Daryl. Great. And it's very clear, like, that team was so, like, even like that 22-23 team that missed the playoffs, like, all their underlyings were elite. Like, they had great underlyings, and their goaltending sunk them. Markstrom was terrible. But, like, imagine if Daryl was the coach today, and he's scratching Zane and scratching Zary Coronado. Oh my God, people would be pitchforks outside the Saddle Dome. Why does Huska get away with it?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest red flags, well, I was never a fan of Huska from day one. Like, I didn't think that was the guy to hire. But like you said, that season with Daryl, 22-23, Markstrom was literally the worst goalie in the league, and they missed the playoffs by a couple points. The very next year under Huska, exact same rosters brought back. Markstrom was one of the best goalies in the league, and the Flames were bottom 10 in the league. And I know they traded a bunch of guys, but until, what was it, February 1st, like, everyone except Zadorov is still there. So
Yep.
that whole
And
time you had the
Toffoli,
exact same. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, Toffoli. For the most part, a very similar roster. And you came out, had one of the best goalies in the league, and you weren't even close to playoffs. And that's when I looked at, like, this is a team that Sutter almost had in the playoffs with elite or terrible goaltending. Huska has them bottom of the league with elite goaltending. So something doesn't seem to add up here. And then obviously last year, Wolf kind of disguised all that. And then here we are this year, they're terrible again. So I mean, Huska's track record is just pitiful, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if there's anything you could point at since he was hired and say he's done that well. Like, I just don't, other than use ChatGPT. But like, other than that, I just don't know if there's anything you can point at his coaching, his style, and say, well, at least he does that well, because the Flames aren't good. They're terrible offensively. They're decent defensively. Like, they're better than you would think, but they're still obviously not very good. Their development of players hasn't been good. Like, it just seems like, I don't know what he does well. I don't know, like you said earlier, I don't know what the system is here other than just funnel shots towards Wolf and hope he saves everything. Like, that kind of seems what the play is. And yeah, I think going back to what you said about a youth movement that Connor keeps kind of touting, it's interesting because he says that and then signs Michael Backlund to a 2-year extension until he's 39 when he still has a year left on his contract, signs Martin Pospisil, who was pretty bad last year, to a 3-year extension. And now you look...
I totally forgot he's even on the team.
Yeah,
I totally forgot he exists.
And you talk about, like, where's McKenna going to play next year if he came here? Like, the Flames already have 12 forwards under contract for next season because they extended Backlund, they extended Pospisil, they acquired Farabee, they extended Frost for multiple years, although Frost, I think, is of that group is definitely the one I would want the most. But, like, there's already limited spots to go around in what is the so-called youth movement with the organization. But then you're extending your 36-year-old captain to a 2-year multi-year deal before his contract's even up, which is, like, unheard of. You're giving Pospisil 3 seasons, and it's like, even Scotia Place, the first year they've already got, I think, 8 or 9 forwards under contract. So it's like, assuming they don't trade anyone, which, obviously they still can, and we hope they do, but this is already such a crowded lineup for the next couple seasons that youth movement they keep touting, I don't know where it's going to come from. Even if they do draft Gavin McKenna, it's like, you've got so many middle six guys, veteran guys. Like, Sharon Govich's contract literally just started this season, which is just insane to me because it feels like he's been around forever. But that's on the books. Like, it's such a mess of a roster of it very much looks like a roster that is half rebuilt and then switched course at the last minute. And now it's just kind of this mess of like aging veterans and overpaid players like Sharangovich. And I just don't know where the youth movement is that we keep hearing about is coming. When you're scratching Parekh, you're scratching Zary, you're scratching Coronado, you're re-signing Justin Kirkland. Like the Kirkland experiment should be over long ago. Like I get why they brought him back. It was a good story last year. He obviously had a tough injury. He's a guy who's been like a journeyman. I get giving him a contract, getting him paid. Like I get that. But like he's been terrible this year. He hasn't done anything. Just send him down. Like just you gave him this contract. He's gonna get his money this year. Just send him down and put Zary at center. Like I just don't understand why this team needs Lumberg, Klapka, Kirkland all on the roster, all in the lineup. It just defies logic and it just doesn't make any sense. Then again, I think that's kind of what Huska wants. I think he's a guy who just leans on his veterans and doesn't trust the youth, even if that's the wrong choice because it's making the Flames worse. But, you know, I just think there's so many issues with this roster that going back to the Kadri trade, like you kind of have to trade a guy like Kadri or Coleman or else I don't know where anyone's going to fit next year if you do draft Gavin McKenna. Like there's, like you said, I could see a world where Ryan Huska starts the year with McKenna in the press box and Adam Klapka's in the lineup. Like it's a very scary thought to have Ryan Huska behind the bench for the next however many years we're stuck with.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I'm not on the fire Huska train yet, not because I think he's been good if you're trying to win, because I'm agreeing with a lot of the things you guys are saying. But if they do go down this road and they trade their veterans, I just really want to see, like, okay, you've traded these guys. Now the messaging is prioritize your young guys. I want to see how he does that. Because if there's a shift in the way he does it, then that 2-year extension isn't looking so bad because that's what the 2 years is going to be anyways. If there's no shift and there's still puzzling decisions, which based on the track record there might be, then I'm all aboard. You know, if you're a team that's trying to win a cup, he should have fire him for sure. But sure, the Flames might be trying to. They won't even make the playoffs. But if you're trying to win the cup, he's not the guy. And I see that for sure. But I think like come February, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what the lineup decisions are and just how he approaches things. Like it's weird. Like the team is bottom in the league, but I haven't been this excited about this team since 2021, 2022. Like I haven't followed this team this close for the past couple of years. It sounds weird to say out loud because most of what we're saying is so doom and gloom and everything sucks and a lot of things do, but man, I'm like just focused on the draft now. The days when the young players aren't in the press box, I'm focused watching them. Like I ran the numbers about a week ago or so because I wrote about this, but they started their first 10 games. How was it? They started their 10 games 2-7-1, right? 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 2-7-1. Out of all the teams that have, so that's 5 points, right? Or no, 3 points. Nope, 5 points. Sorry, I can't do math today. 5 points. Out of all teams in the cap era that have got at most 5 points in their first 10 games, their draft picks, so 89% of those picks were in the top 10. 89, right? You have 71% in the top 5, 57% in the top 3, and 14% were first overall. That is exactly what this team needs. And even if we go down to teams that started with just 5 points, 82% were in the top 10, 36% were in the top 3, 9% were first overall. And like the team is playing like this without trading their veterans. You know what I mean? Like, this is exactly what this team needs, whether they want it or not. Like it's already happening to them.
Yeah,
so,
no, 100%.
I'm ecstatic. This is great. Personally, I'm very excited.
It's so funny that you say that. Like I'm at this bar last night watching the Jays game with a bunch of friends, and then like their friends come, and we're talking, and the guy's like, "Man, like Flames suck," and I'm like, "God, it's great. Like I'm having a great time." And one of the guys looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, ethical tank," and I'm like, because one of my buddies was like, "Oh, like they're about to lose to Nashville," and I'm like, "Fantastic." Because they made it 3-2, and I got like the update on my phone. I'm like, crap, what are you guys doing? And then I was like, oh, they lost. We got banked another McKenna point. It was like, I think, when like I talk about it, like people are like, you're happy they stink? And I'm like, yeah, like this isn't fun to watch. Like even last year, like there were like a bunch of games last year that were a drag and was hard to watch. I don't think things got fun last year, like till late in the year, because they did start to play a more exciting brand of hockey, I thought, like as the year kind of went on last year. And yeah, and they were in the middle of a playoff race, so it was like fun. It was cool. It was like, oh, like they might, like, I don't know how this team's gonna make it, but like they're right there. Even though like Winnipeg would have killed them in the first round, like would have just murdered them. But I don't know. Man, if this just continues the way it's going and they land a top 4 or 5 pick, yeah, I'll be pumped. I don't like. I was in grade 8, 9. Yeah, I was in grade 9 when they drafted Bennett, and that's before I was like super diehard. So I was like, oh, that's like cool, and I didn't really know much about Sam Bennett. For them, hopefully this year to land something high would be great. They're not doing it on purpose, which to me is like the funniest thing.
Yeah.
They're very clearly not doing this like, oh yeah, like we kind of expected to suck this year. If you've been watching like The Chase, like if you watched that first episode, all they kept talking about was one more point, one more point, one more point. How can we get one more point? Like this team very clearly came into this year with aspirations of getting in, right? Very clear. Like it came from management. The players were talking about it all at the end of the year last year, coming into this season. And I get the players and management are never going to say like, "Oh yeah, we're trying to tank." Like obviously, right? And I think it was Huberto last year at kind of the end of the year. He was like, "Oh, like we tried to tank, but we kept winning." I was like, they clearly understand like what I think the fan base or hopefully a majority of the fan base wants. Obviously, there's still that other side that are all like, "Oh, like we hate Team Tank and." We just want to,
You're
win
not a real
games, even
fan,
though,
yeah.
yeah, like Rasmus Anderson very famously at the end of the year last year saying, if you're wanting us to lose games, you're not a real fan.
God, what a
Okay,
mistake
Ras,
that
like,
was, eh?
and he's come out this year, and I don't think he's looked all that great. And he's like, I've said it like every night, like when the Flames are playing, I'm like, it's now November. And this player is still here. Like I didn't think we'd get by the draft with him on the team. I thought for sure, like draft time, he's gone. And even James was like, and James is pretty locked in with most things, I think. And he was like, guys, I think Columbus is happening. And I got excited. I was like, oh, that means like maybe we're getting this guy, this pick, whatever. And then he didn't move. And then the summer just kept going and going and going. It's like training camp, he's here. Like what? Like, okay, I guess. I don't know. It's frustrating to be a fan of this team. I knew I should have hopped off when Johnny and Maddie left.
Yeah.
It's just,
Anderson.
you know what sucks is that like you watch the Jays, like, and I know they lost, like, but like for the past month, like you guys know, I do my best to watch every game that comes on TV, like that I can watch. Yesterday, like, didn't even bother trying to watch because like I want to watch this really good baseball team, the Jays. And then, even like they played Winnipeg a few weeks ago, like didn't even put it on like my laptop or anything. Well, it's like, yes, I'm happy they're bad. However, at the same time, this is like the least amount of fun I've ever had watching this team. And there's been some like bad teams in there. 15, 16, like outside of Johnny and Monty was tough. That 17, 18 team was brutal. The COVID team, the 2021 team, like before Daryl showed up, terrible. There's been some like there's been some bad like teams, and this is like the most uninterested I've been. And like for as much as I love Uyghur, it's just there's no like guy on this team that I'm like so gung ho. I guess I am gung ho for Uyghur, but like at least with those like the Tree Living era Flames, it's like I had like Johnny and Monty and Chucky. Like there's all these guys that like I just want that again.
Yeah.
And like I said, as much as I love Weegsy and he's the best, and I'm so happy he's a Flame. It's like I want to be able to like watch and like gravitate to someone like super exciting. Like it would be nice to get it. Like I have a blank Flames jersey sitting upstairs that like if they get McKenna like is going on it. But knowing us, he'll be a bust, and I'll be depressed.
Yeah, I would say this. You could argue this is probably arguably the worst era of Flames hockey. That like I know there's the Young Guns era and that, but I mean Jerome McGinley came around the Young Guns era, so like you had him to hold on to. Gaudreau, Monahan, Kachuk era, like you had a tons of excitement, young players. Obviously the '80s, like they're borderline dynasty if the Oilers didn't exist. Like I don't know. I know I've been a fan mainly in the 2000s, obviously, but like I don't remember a time where I've ever had less excitement about a team or less hope. Like I think their start this year has given me hope because of how bad they've been, like you said, about just finally being excited about something that, oh, maybe we can get a top player. But just as a whole, I think it's just the most dull, least exciting era of Flames hockey I can remember, and probably arguably in the organization's history, because it's just the past 3 years have just been an absolute drag of just no direction, just boring, like terrible hockey, just staying on the middle, picking 16th 2 of the last 3 years. Like it's just been such a slog that it's so refreshing to see them start so badly. Like, as weird as that is to say, like you're saying about checking the scores, like I haven't been refreshing a score on a Flames game as hard as I did yesterday against Nashville, and like since the 2022 playoffs. Like I was just refreshing, like, please don't come back, please don't come back, come on Nashville, hold on. Like I'm just like sweating over here hoping they lose, because it's like I think if we stack up enough of these losses, it'll push them in the right direction. So it's like, at least we finally have that to hold on to say, it looks like, which even though they don't want it to go this way, they're being pushed in the right direction. At least they're kind of being forced there. So at least they're heading in the right direction, we hope, because like, even if you don't trade Kadri, even if you don't trade these guys, you're not getting out of the bottom 10 at this point. Like I think it's mathematically not impossible, but it's very, very steep hill to climb. And I don't trust this coach or this roster to put up numbers that get them out of the bottom 10. So I think this start at least has almost guaranteed us, I think, a top 10 pick next year. Now it's just, let's get that to a top 5. Let's get that to a top 3 and just keep this train rolling, or this tank rolling, I guess. But yeah, I think it's, as weird as it is to say, that a start this bad is actually the most exciting thing that's happened to this team in 3 years.
It's a blessing, really.
Like, yeah, it is. It's exactly what we needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Snap back to reality.
If they would have started the season 2-9, I would have, or 9-2-1 or whatever, I would have been depressed, because I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like they're just gonna do, like, this team is going nowhere. Even if they look good in the regular season, like they're probably gonna fall off. Even if they get in the playoffs, like this is not a team that's doing any damage in the playoffs. You watch the playoffs last year, you watch the Oilers, the Stars, like those guys would just kick the Flames around like nothing. So it's that I did love that their schedule was so tough. Like I don't think they're actually this bad, but I think the fact that they had such a tough schedule to start was such a blessing in disguise that it forced them to start this poorly, just because I think a hot start, or even a start around like 500, and there's no way we're even talking about any of these guys being traded or a top 10 pick. It's like, here we go again. We're just going to hover around 500 all year and maybe get in, maybe not. So the fact that they've started so poorly and had such a tough schedule, I think, is such a huge blessing. Like you said, like this is exactly what we needed. And it's just forcing the organization to hopefully realize that they're not as good as they think they are. And maybe they should just pack it in for a year where the draft is as stacked as it is. And then even if you want to say, next year we're going for it again, that's fine. Like if you get a McKenna, you get a, Stenberg, one of these guys, I'm fine with that. But at least bottom out this year. There's no better opportunity than right now.
Yeah, and we saw it the past couple of years. Like, I mean, there's never really been, from what I can remember, a tough start like this, where they're just playing cup contender after cup contender, and like the condensed schedule as well. But throughout the past couple of years, especially the past 3 years, like we've seen them play through a couple streaks where they're up against a tough stretch, where they're playing these cup contenders, but it's usually later on in the season, right? They're usually already like close to 500 or at 500s, and like they'll lose most of those games, and we'll be like, oh, see, like they're not even close to even competing with these guys. But the argument against that will be, yeah, but they're playing 500 hockey, and that, like, they're playing 500 hockey or a bit better, and they can creep up to a playoff spot. But the thing that was different this year is you can't get to 500 if you're playing these teams first, right? Like you're gonna go and you're gonna be more loss. You're gonna have more losses than wins. So yeah, Josh, I'm with you. Like that beginning stretch of the schedule here was exactly what was needed. I'm sure management knows this. Like there's no way they don't. Like there's no way they think this roster can win a cup. So that, I think, like this was the wake up call that was needed. Being like, yeah, there's no shot. There's no shot. This is a cup contending team. There's no shot that, like, hopefully this is a playoff contending team, right? Like that now they're in the stretch where they're up against a bit, I don't want to say like not weak teams, because we're the weak team, but weaker teams compared to the cup contenders, like, and like now you're starting to see them score more than 2 goals a game, like didn't know they had it in them, but they can. Before the stretch, my biggest fear was that they go and win, like they get a 3-game win streak, a 4-game win streak, and oh, look how close we are to 500. Not really. There's still like 3 more games they have to win or so, but they'll be like, oh, we're starting a streak. Maybe let's hold off. Maybe let's wait a little bit. That was my biggest fear. I don't think that's happening though. Like I'm sure I know that they have to be selling these players at some point this year. They have to. So I'm not too worried, but you never know.
Yeah, I think when I looked at the schedule, I was a little worried, like you said, because their next 10 or so games are much, much lighter than they have been. Like you're playing a lot more easy teams. Not that any team is easy when you're last in the league, but just a lot more winnable games. But the fact that, they lost to Ottawa without Brady Tkachuk. They lost to a Leafs team that just hasn't been great this year. They lost to the Predators.
Dude, and Matthews was invisible that game too. Such a winnable game, and they just were so bad.
Yeah, so it's, when they were losing at the start, when they're playing Vegas and Winnipeg and Montreal and all these, top end teams, you can say, well, when the schedule lightens up, they'll get back at it, which was my concern that they would, kind of get closer to 500. But the fact that they're still the only team they beat really was, the only team they did beat was the Rangers. They've lost every other game against a lighter opponent. So the fact that they're still losing, and I think if that continues over the next week or so, when they play teams like Columbus, Chicago, like San Jose, they've got coming up, if they're still losing, I think that will finally be the nail in the coffin that makes the organization realize that this isn't a blip. This is just what this team is. I think up to now, they probably looked at their schedule and said, well, we're playing all these contenders. So, once we get past them, we'll get back on track. But the fact that they haven't yet, and it doesn't look like they will anytime soon based on how they've been playing, I think is going to be the final push that they're going to need. Like when we're dropping games to teams like Nashville, that's your sign. This is not a good team. We're losing to good teams and we're losing to bad teams. I think it's time to admit that we're a bad team. We're in last place for a reason. It's not bad luck or anything like that. We're just bad.
Yeah. And I think when we're saying we want to trade these veterans and stuff, and I think most people know this, but I want to vocalize it. This does not mean that they are 1, bad players, 2, bad Flames. Kadri, I was ecstatic about when he signed. I was so happy. He was my favorite Flame. Anderson, yes, he may have hurt some of our feelings when he's said his little spiel about how we're not real fans if we're cheering for a loss. But I think we can all agree that he's been a very good Flame for us.
Yeah.
Ever since he's been on the team, Same 100%. With Coleman, these are very good players. And it kind of sucks that we have to, not have to, but we want to see them traded. But it's not because of their performance. It's not because of who they are as players. It's purely asset management, and that's what the general manager needs to think of, don't dismiss, they're still human beings. They're still players and you will need to have a good relationship with them, but you need to manage your assets properly. So you can't be afraid to hurt feelings.
Yeah. I think people get it twisted when I'm I'll be oh, I want them to trade X player, whatever it is. And, I personally, I love Rass. He's been one of my favorite Flames since he came in. I remember when they drafted him, and it was a player that I loved, and he was so integral to the Battle of Alberta, those when it got really big. And he's been such an awesome player. And again, this is not because I think he stinks or whatever. It's just they've got so many guys coming on the right side. They've got Zane already here who isn't getting enough minutes that they need to find minutes for. And are you really going to pay Wilby 31 when the contract kicks in, Rasmus Anderson to 8x8 or 8x9? I wouldn't be really interested in that. I hope he goes off and does well. And he's a proud guy. I understand him being a little bit upset when I think if anybody in his position, if people were actively cheering for you to lose, I think you'd be pretty pissed off too, right? Because they take a lot of pride in what they do. But I just think it's time for him and the organization just to move on. He can go somewhere where he has a better chance to win, and the Flames can pick up much needed assets that they need to win-win. I just hope it doesn't develop into that Hannafin situation where it's the guy you got for him is now in the AHL and your first round pick is probably going to be in the late 20s, and hopefully you can find a spot for him where it makes sense for both sides. And it's the same thing with Naz. Love Naz. He's been an awesome Flame. But again, this guy could fall off a cliff any moment now. Could be tomorrow. It could be 2 years from now. But you need to cash in on this opportunity. And I think it's the one thing where the Flames have not done their due diligence is that people go, oh, well, Conroy, he traded Zadorov and Hanifin and Lindholm and Tanev and Mangiapane and Markstrom. It's like, well, he traded all those guys because all of them said no to extensions. Hanifin would still be here. Lindholm, oh my God, would still be here if they had all just agreed to stay. This wasn't Conroy getting out in front of it going, yeah, you know what? I don't see a fit long term. We're going to move you. This is because they all said no to extensions. You know, like it's at some point, it's time for him to get in front of these situations, go, you know what? I think it's best for my team's future if I moved you now. Or, you know, or maybe I don't sign this player. It's like, Josh, you were talking about earlier how, you know, they couldn't score to save their lives last year and they didn't sign anybody. I don't think that was by design. I think they just probably, like, I still think Conroy understands what's happening here. At least I want to hope. I want to hope that he saw that team last year, went, you know, I don't know if that's sustainable. Maybe I'll be a little bit more reserved, save our cap space. If we have to take on a bad deal or if we have to retain, we'll have that extra money available, right? I want to hope at least that's what he thought over the summer when all he did was sign Prosvetov and that defenseman that is on the Wranglers, Cicek, whatever his name is. So it's like you would hope that that's what he's thinking. You know, I want to be a little more positive because I feel like we've been rambling here for an hour and 20 of just being negative. But like, I don't know, I feel like we're getting like, I don't know, less of the win column here. We're getting a little bit of a bad rep for being too negative. So I want to try and put a positive spin on things, but it's hard to be positive when they haven't given us anything to be positive about. But like, how different is it if like they're still in last? Parek's playing 20 minutes a night, PP1. Coronado, Zary are both playing 18 minutes a night in the top 6. Hansik's playing as well as he is, but they're just not winning. And they're not running Wolf into the ground. I think we're sitting here going, you know what? It's actually not that bad. We can see.
I think
some
that's what it's going to be like, though.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's what we get to because I like, you know, it's just that's what it hasn't been so far. It's like we're still seeing Lomberg and Kirkland and, you know, Klapka's all right, but like I don't need to see Adam Klapka in the lineup every night. You know, I understand that Sharon Govich is making almost $6 million. You don't want to scratch that player every night. I get it. But at the same time, we got to move on from some guys. There's too many guys here.
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, that there's definitely an argument that Conroy is maybe sees a little more than we think. Like his offseason, this past offseason of not doing anything and kind of saying, you know, maybe he's in the background saying, like, even though ownership's telling me to go for it, like I think this team is going to fall off. I'm not going to sign anyone. I'm just going to say I believe in the group and kind of just let them do their thing, either sink or swim. And obviously they've sunk so far, and maybe that's exactly by design. I think the issue, at least the biggest issue with Connor for me is he's, like you said, he's never really traded anyone that didn't want to leave or wasn't on an expiring deal, like other than Jacob Pelche, who cleared waivers earlier that year. So until that happens, that's why I'm hesitant to say they're actually going to trade Kadri, just because it seems like, at least the way Conroy's operated so far, and again, it could just be ownership in his ear being like, try to bring these guys back, don't trade them unless you have to. But it seems like a lot of the players make the final calls on what happens with their future, whereas, you know, Nazem Kadri now only has a 13-no trade. I saw it's like Chris Johnson or LeBron, one of those guys kind of said, well, you know, Kadri really likes Calgary, you know, he probably doesn't want to leave. There may be a couple teams he'd be willing to go to. And I'm like, it doesn't matter where he's willing to go to. He'd only block a trade to 13 teams. The other 18 are fair game. So I just hope that, you know, Conroy sees that and does that, and it doesn't keep kind of letting the players make the final call. And again, it's at the end of the day, it's probably ownership in his ear. Like, I think Connor is kind of just at their will, and at the end of the day, they're probably just telling him, like, you're not trading Nazem Kadri. We need him. He's our number one center, etc. Yeah, I just think hopefully Conroy sees the light and is able to make some moves that, you know, maybe ownership probably didn't want to do at the start, but their terrible start forces them to do that, and Conroy's maybe able to take a little more power in the decision making, because I think so far it just seems like the players kind of call the shots, whoever the reasoning is for that, ownership, Conroy, whatever. But I think it's frustrating when you see things like, well, Kadri, you know, might not want to go anymore. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, if trading him is better for the team, then that's what you got to do. Like, he's been a great player for the Flames, but I mean, it's not like you're going to ship him to like San Jose or something, you're going to still send him to a good team where he can go chase another cup and play playoff hockey. So I think that's the type of decisions I want to see before I can confidently say that I trust Conroy.
Yeah, I think overall, I think Conroy has been a great GM. I think if I compare the pros to the cons here, like, yeah, Josh, that's one of the things that I'm a little skeptical on because, yeah, he hasn't traded anyone yet, purely just from an asset management standpoint. It's always been they don't have to, or they don't want to resign, at least based off reporting. We don't know unless we're like in the room with him, right? But that's just based off reports. But there's been things he's done even at the time where I was like, oh, that's a mistake that I've been wrong about, that he's been right about, like this guy knows 100 times, 200 times, 1,000 times more about hockey than I do, right? So every time you can prove me wrong, I'm happy, right? So, like, I think outside, like, between him just being told by the players they don't want to stay and him trading them, or maybe the Sharon Govich signing, I can't really think of anything else where I've been like, oh, that's not good. That was not a good move by him, and it ended up being like that. Even like the Frost and Farabee trade, I don't think I would have done it, but where that team was at that time as a general manager when you were pretty close to a playoff spot, I think it was a good trade in the sense that you're not giving up big assets. You're giving up a player. I love Peltier, but you're giving up a player who cleared through waivers. You're giving up Kuzmenko, who wasn't going to sign anyways, and you needed to cash in on that value. And you're getting two, I guess, reclamation projects in a way, but you have the cap space to take that on. That was a zero risk trade for me, and the good thing is that he didn't do anything else at the trade deadline. Should he have sold? Did we want him to? Sure, but I understand the logic in him not doing it where you're that close to a playoff spot, just see what the team can do. And I understand the logic this summer in not doing anything either. At the end of the day, however it may have happened, the team was close to the playoffs last year. So as a general manager, it's another opportunity of, okay, you guys did it last year, do it again. And if you can't do it again, then I know what this team is. If you can do it again, then we'll address that when it gets there. But I think those, at the end of the day, like, those have been smart decisions from Conroy. I can sit on my couch and say, oh, we should have traded Anderson months ago, but I don't know what's happening. I do think he gets traded at the end of the day, but I have to believe that just the prices just weren't there.
I think you hit it on the head there. So, well, we still have lots of season left. It's only November 2nd. So
lots of time.
Lots of time. We'll see where everything goes. So
shall we wrap it up, guys?
I think so. I think
was
people are
long.
probably
Oh my God.
listening to this.
Well, yeah. Do we want to mention the Oilers? I'm just kidding.
That's another hour and a half.
Did you guys see just very quickly when Kiner Falefa almost scored yesterday during the Oilers game, like the broadcaster was like, the Jays have won the World Series. Oh wait, he's called out at home, and the place was going nuts. Yeah. Oh,
dude,
my God,
scored
the bar
a goal.
was at people. Yeah, there was a puck's like in the neutral zone, and everyone's going nuts. And what's the Oilers play by Jack something?
Jack Michaels.
Whatever Michaels. Yeah, and he's like, the Jays have won the World Series. Everyone's going nuts.
I was at Jody's watching that game, and that's not really your typical sports bar where you can jump up and cheer.
Not at all.
But we're all watching the game, and I think the moment that we're being referred to at that Oilers game is when I think it was Clement, right? He's sliding into home. Was it Clement? He's sliding into home plate, and then
Kiner Falefa.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's sliding into home plate, and like, man, the Dodgers his foot is off home plate, and you're like, oh my God, it's over, and then he puts it back on. You're like, damn, man.
And
like,
it took the ump a second to like call it. It's like he slides in, the ump's just standing there, and he's like out, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
I had shouted, I was like, no, and I'm like, Joey's, I'm like, sorry, my bad.
I know.
It's okay.
I'm not like the biggest.
It's okay. They called that guy out, and the guy at the table next to us like slammed his cup, and it like exploded. I was like, oh my God.
I was just watching that. I'm not the biggest like baseball guy. Like, obviously, I cheer for the Jays, and like I'll tune in the playoffs and stuff. And I'm like, I can't imagine being a diehard that heartbreaking loss. If that was the Flames losing in that fashion, that'd be it. I'd be done. Like, I couldn't handle it. How many times they were like this close, like, and then Clement puts it like half an inch further. The guy probably goes right over his glove. They win the World Series.
Dark magic.
Game 6, there was like gets lodged under the whatever. They had bases loaded, 1 out, bottom of the ninth, they lose. I'm like it sucks. Like I'm like, thank God I'm not like a diehard baseball fan, because that would just be horrendous if the Flames were to lose in like Game 7 overtime, some like fluke bounce or something like that. I'm like, I couldn't deal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
I wouldn't call
I'm not
myself
the biggest diehard. Alex, you're a
Larry was
diehard though,
gonna
aren't
say.
you? Like
I wouldn't say I'm like super diehard for the Jays. I love watching them. But, like I was like panicking yesterday, and I was like, and I like Larry looked at one of my friends. I'm like, I don't know if I'd ever be able to like survive if the Flames like made the finals and it's like Game 7.
No.
Like I think
No.
I'd go into cardiac arrest. Like
No.
yeah.
Especially
you guys
losing in
Game
that fashion
7.
too.
Yeah, at least you guys didn't spend a whole bunch of money to go watch them lose like I did.
Yeah, I mean, like
It's
even
okay,
when it
I had
was
fun.
like 2022, Game 7, Flames are against the Stars. I got tickets to that game. That is the first time. It's me and my sister. I sit down in the car. I have like my religious like prayer beads in my pocket. I brought them to the arena, and I'm driving to the game. Music is off. There is no music playing. We say 0 words to each other. 0 words. And like I haven't been that stressed in so long.
Yeah.
And the only reason, I think it's been like the past year or two where I've like somewhat been like this year I paid a lot more than paid more attention last year, but I started to pay a bit more attention to the Jays only because like my sister's a big fan, and like my future brother-in-law is like a big fan. So I was like texting him throughout the whole night yesterday, just like the group chats going back and forth. And as soon as they lost, I text him like, man, I'm so sorry. Like I'm this sad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how sad
Yeah.
you two are.
It was brutal.
I have a buddy who's like
Yeah.
a diehard baseball fan. He watches all 162 games like from like every single season. And as soon as they lost, I'm like, oh man, someone check in on this guy, because I'm like, I can't imagine what he's going through right now.
Yeah. That sucked. Like, man, they were 2 outs away and then they were 90 feet away. Like, again, like this is me. Like, I'm not like, I watch the Jays, but I'm not watching like every other team like I would for hockey. Like if there's nothing else on. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Like we need ourselves a Japanese cyborg. Like the Dodgers have 3 of them. Where's ours? One of my friends like, they had a Japanese guy, and I'm like, Kawasaki. I'm like, he stunk. He was just there for the vibes.
That's Toronto sports for you though. So
yeah,
at least we're not also Leafs fans.
Did we really expect anything else last night? Like,
yeah, Game 7 loss.
That team, and like the one thing about that Jays team is, man, they were so damn likable. Like every guy on that team, like, you know, and I'm not the biggest Bo Bichette fan, but like watch him last night, I'm like, they better sign him. I will be heartbroken if he doesn't stay. Just him and Vlad. Anyway.
Yeah, that's brutal. You come that close, and that runs like that are like once in a generation. Like, I mean, we know it as Flames fans. Like, it's been 21 years since 04. Like, those type of miracle runs like that, like, they don't come around often. So I'm like, damn, that sucks to come that close. And then now it's like, yeah, you're probably not getting that close to a World Series where you're like an inch away for like the next 50 years. Yeah, at least I can just go back to not caring about baseball now for another 12 months. But
that's the thing. You can't have a playoff curse if you don't make it to the playoffs. Am I right, boys? Go Flames, go!
Exactly.
Go Flames, go!
My Aprils and Mays are so much less stressful and so much more easygoing because I don't have to worry about playoff hockey. I can just look at the draft lottery. Anyways, we've held up Greg here for about almost 2 hours now. Just
I'm dying, guys.
Ranting
good luck going through all this, eh?
And, well, that's tomorrow's problem. I have to go to work, so we got to
like
wrap it up.
Session, group therapy. You're a therapist.
I'll do a thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Fuel and Fire podcast. A lot of fire today. A lot of season left to go. See you soon.